Welcome back to another episode of the Mulligans and Milkshakes podcast presented by the Crimson Crossover Podcast Network. We're full this week. We got our full slate after Matthew had some flight trouble last week that made him unable to join the recording. How you guys doing today?
Much better this week. I'm not sitting in the Houston airport, so much better this week. Glad to be with you guys.
You're not sitting in the Houston airport, and I know you really wanted to play, but you at least got to kind of tour Paynes Valley a little
Yeah,
bit
I'm
while you were in
not wearing
Branson.
the hat right now. I got a nice little G4 hat that just says Pains right here and has the logo right here. I'm of course wearing my J&J hat this week, but yeah, Paynes Valley is everything you've heard about it. I've always wanted to get up there and play. It's on my bucket list of courses I really want to play. I didn't expect to be there. My girlfriend lives in Bentonville, Arkansas. She got hit really hard by the tornadoes, and Bentonville was hit pretty hard. Rogers, which is right there, it's right above where the University of Arkansas is in Fayetteville. Rogers got completely destroyed. So she wasn't supposed to have power until Friday, and the storms hit Saturday night into Sunday morning. So we got a lot of stuff Sunday just because we didn't have power. And Monday we woke up, still didn't have power. We were like, we didn't want to take any more cold showers. So Branson's only like an hour and a half and the windiest roads I've ever been on. And it's like a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. I was going 30 the entire time because it's just up and around. It was insane. But Branson is beautiful. It's the home of Bass Pro, so a lot of money there. And Paynes Valley, it's Tiger Woods designed, and they have a Jack Nicklaus designed and Arnold Palmer designed, and even their par three just looked beautiful. I've never been more jealous of watching people play golf in my life because the courses are just beautiful. Paynes Valley is not cheap to get on, but yeah, I really want to get back there at some point because I've always heard about it, and now actually going and seeing the course, it looked like they don't even use lawnmowers. So they just go and cut with scissors the entire fairways. That's how perfect it looked. So really want to get back there. And funny enough, I was there like 3 days after Good was there shooting a video because I saw on Garrett Clark's story that they were there, which would have been cool to run into them. But yeah, I really want to get back there. And for those of you who have not been there yet and are looking for somewhere to go on a golf trip, definitely look at Branson because it is just beautiful.
So I'm sorry that we couldn't come up with the funds to get you on the
Yeah, I know.
course.
I was trying to get I was trying to get both of you to pitch in for content purposes. I thought that would have been great. Who knows? That might have been the start of the M&M instead of Good. But you know, that's on you
Charles has
guys.
been
It's okay.
working on t-shirt designs, so we're biting a little bit off of a good there.
That and his son has a better golf swing than you.
That's true. It's very true. It's um Charles, how was golfing with the boys this weekend?
So it was good, except Harvey after the first hole ripped open a blister. So my parents live close to the course, so he sat out the rest of the 18. But the clips I showed y'all was of Wilson, and we played all 18. He played all 18. I'd I'd take him across, water hazards and stuff like that, not to have to go digging balls out and things. But man, I just continue to be impressed. It's not like he's hitting it far, but for a 4-year-old, he's hitting it straight. And y'all saw some of the putts that he made on Sunday too. But he just loves getting out there. Of course, every putt for him is for either for eagle or for birdie. There are not a lot of pars and definitely no bogeys on the scorecard. But just had a good time getting through 18. A little bit of a rebound after the 100 on Tuesday, playing from the junior amateur, which is a follow up to that. After I shot 100, I think the winner shot 66, which happens to be an Alabama commit. So at least that's the positive side of things. But just continue to try to get in the swing of things and continuing to play up a little bit more, continue to work on wedge game, and then of course trying to make some more putts for birdie from the 10 feet range. But all in all, is a very nice Sunday. Kristen, did you were thinking about getting out on Saturday and playing with Sam? Did y'all make it?
Yeah, that was well, first of all, so Sam and I decided that we're gonna start going back to the gym. And So we went out 2 days after we did a leg day, and my legs were so sore. It's like I couldn't even like move
The
really.
first leg day after not doing a leg day in forever,
Yeah.
you cannot walk.
Yeah, yeah. So, on top of that, the course that we went to, well, it was one of the top rated in Charlotte. So we went to Redbridge. And while it was very nice, there we were waiting 20-30 minutes on each hole. Like, and when I say each hole, I mean every single hole. There was a twosome in front of the foursome that we were behind. That was and I wasn't too upset about it, but it was an older gentleman, and I would presume it was be his son. And they were just playing really slow, and then the foursome behind them was playing even slower, and so we left after 9 just because like so we had been there for 2.5 hours after the ninth hole, and I told and Sam's like, I'm bored, I don't want to sit here. Like, it was like 5 o'clock at that time, and I was like, yeah. So we went to the clubhouse, got like a rain check for the back 9, and we just left. On top of that, neither of us were playing particularly well, because we couldn't really move. So wasn't a great day, but hopefully maybe this weekend or the weekend after we'll get back out there, and I won't be as sore from leg days. So
Nine holes in 2.5 hours, I would have been losing my mind because I play 18 in 2.5 to 3 hours. And I get it when I'm typically a single, and sometimes, I may have 3 or 4 people in front of me. I will play later or try to jump ahead on the tee sheet if I can to try to avoid those situations. But sitting there having to wait, 5-10 minutes to hit your next shot is just I play worse because of course I'm in my head and I'm frustrated that I can't get out there and keep playing. And then of course I'm probably overthinking any shot, or once I get up there, I'm just rushing it anyway. So man, that sounds frustrating, but at least you get to go out there and play the back 9 hopefully sometime soon without that type of slowdown or limitations.
yeah, we've had that issue. So in Charlotte, that's becoming a more and more common theme, as people get more involved with golf, where like it's almost impossible to play on the weekends here. So I think Sam and I will need to figure out like either going on a weekday after work, or something like that. But yeah, the last few times that we've been out on the weekend, it's been so slow, and we
Have
have
you
to
been
like,
have you been down to Edgewater? I don't know how far that is from you.
yeah, we've been there before. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably about 45 minutes away.
Yeah,
But
that's what it was for me too. Edgewater is one of my favorite public courses around Charlotte.
yeah. So we have to figure out how to get like we either have to go to courses that are not in Charlotte, or you know, figure it out that way. So um that was the extent of our golf. I don't really want to talk about how I played because it just wasn't good. Um, I didn't even keep track of my score just because it was that bad.
It's a
So
practice day.
yeah,
That's right. When I
yeah,
did get back to Lake Chuck, I was able to play Saturday. I was supposed to play 2 rounds, but I don't know if you guys saw my video on Twitter. It was a monsoon, but played Saturday morning, played okay, whipped out an eagle putt on the first hole, and that was kind of how my round went. I burnt the edge on so many putts and just kind of got frustrated. And I think I shot a 79 in the end, so it wasn't bad, but I just couldn't putt. The greens are still recovering from being aerated like a month ago, so I just can't get the speed right, and it's so frustrating because as we talked about a couple weeks ago, my putting is usually one of my strong suits, but not having the speed down has just thrown everything off. So it's making me question a lot, and it's not exactly fun to say the least.
yeah, yeah. It's aeration's happening right now on a lot of courses in Charlotte. So it's trying to figure out how to pick and choose where you're gonna go, which makes it kind of difficult. Um, but this week we didn't get a winner on tour.
I know. I you and I both talked about, we've picked Bob McIntyre in the past. He's a McNeese guy, so I'm familiar with him. I know him, and I usually pick him, but he's been playing so well. It's cool to see him win.
Yeah. I thought I was gonna get one with Mackenzie Hughes. I was, out of left field, Mackenzie Hughes, the Canadian, decides that he's gonna, do something. Like I told you guys, or like I told Charles in the recording last week, I was like, I don't know. My picks last week, they were just kind of off the wall just because I wanted to have like a little bit of, you know, do something a little crazy. But apparently,
We didn't have a Canadian get speared by a security guard on the 18th
I
green this
know
year.
it's um
With the year McIntyre's had and Ludwig before he got hurt, and then thinking 2 years before that, or really what Scotty's been doing, but 2 years before that, him being on the USA Ryder Cup team and that being his first appearance. McIntyre and Ludwig, they have their first appearance in the last Ryder Cup. Obviously, the Ryder Cup is a special event. You can see that a little bit through Full Swing. Anybody that goes to it talks about how special it is. But it's really interesting to see some of these younger players who are making their first appearance in the Ryder Cups and then able to carry that over into the PGA Tour season and having a lot of success with it as well.
It is cool because I think I talked about it with you guys a couple weeks ago. McIntyre did an interview, I think, I forget when, but it was about a month ago. And this is his first year on tour. He was on the DP World Tour, and he's played professionally since 2017. But he was talking about how much of a challenge it's been playing on the PGA Tour, because the DP World Tour, they're all best friends. If you need advice on like your swing or something like that, one of your competitors is willing to help you, and it's more camaraderie and more of like a, we're all in this together. I want to see you succeed, you want to see me succeed kind of thing. And he talked about how that's not the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour is, if you beat me, you get money that takes food off my like stuff like that. Of it's cutthroat and it's so much more difficult. And he talked about, he went back home to Scotland for a couple weeks because he needed to just reset and mentally get in it, because it's a completely different style of golf, and how he's been struggling with that. He's had 4 caddies in the past year, and people were talking all over Twitter, now X, about it, that it was so cool to see his dad caddy for him, because his dad said it in the interview on the 18th. He said, I'm just a grass cutter. He left he's a lawnmower, he works on the maintenance staff at a golf course in Oban, Scotland, which is where they're from. And he had to ask for the weekend off so he could go caddy for his son on the PGA Tour, and he ended up winning the tournament. So she asked it on the 18th green. He's got to stay on the bag now. He's into the signature events. He's into the U.S. Open, which he would have been playing a Monday qualifier today to get into the U.S. Open, because he wasn't already in it. And
wait, he's in the
now
US Open?
now he's into the U.S. Open. Yes.
Because like Davis Riley isn't in the US Open yet.
Yeah, but he this was his 4th top 10 this year. So
Oh, okay.
he's
Yeah.
played well
Okay.
enough, but
Okay.
that put him over the edge. He's in the
Yeah.
Masters next
Yeah.
year. He's in the signature events just like Davis, but he's had more success, I think, this year than Davis has as a whole outside the win. He was tied for 6th in Mexico. He was tied for 8th at the Zurich with Thomas Dietrich, 13th at Myrtle Beach, 8th at the PGA Championship, and now
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
won. So he's had this sustained success. It was kind of a matter of time for him to get over the hump and actually win. So it was cool, and it's also cool because the Charles Schwab, he had one of his worst weeks of the year. He was 4 over in a tournament that the scoring was absurd, and he was 4 over, missed the cut at the Charles Schwab. So to see him bounce back was pretty neat. And like I said, after seeing all he's dealt with in transitioning to the PGA Tour, it's cool to see him get over the hump and see he can do it, because he's a lefty. It's cool to see a lefty have success, and I think he can sustain it and be one of those players that always has a shot at tournaments like that, because he played really well. He's played well all year.
He's a guy that when he was battling Rory for the Scottish Open last year, And I put Sahith in this category from a couple years ago at the Waste Management. Battling one of the best players in the world, and then just comes up short. We'll probably pay attention to him for the next start or two, especially going from the Scottish to the Open. Last year, how's McIntyre doing? And then we'll kind of fall off the face of the earth. Never really. We'll continue to play, but we'll never have a week like that. And maybe that's just poor on me as far as my golf knowledge for both of those guys. But it's been impressive to see both of them take those moments and build off it, and now become regulars on the PGA Tour. I know you mentioned that this is McIntyre's first year on it, but he is a guy who's been very successful this year. He obviously made the Ryder Cup, like he said, and then what you were talking about with this caddy, I think you have to keep your dad on the bag. And I hope I heard this right on the broadcast again, kind of moving around, getting out of the house, going to play yesterday. But he was having a little bit of a backslide on Saturday, and they talked about how his dad kind of got him back in the right mental state. And he started off yesterday with the bogey as well. So where Doug, when he was on talking about to us about having how much an experienced caddy plays into these things, I think we all see that and agree. But maybe for McIntyre, it's not necessarily, I need somebody with experience. I just need somebody that can keep me in the right headspace for 18 holes.
Yeah, Charles, you're dead on. He entered Saturday in a tie for the lead. He made the turn at 4 behind the lead. He was 4 strokes behind the lead. He had a rough front 9. I think he was 2 over on the front 9. And then he came out on the back, birdied 14, 15, 16, 17, and entered Sunday with a 4-stroke lead because, like you said, his dad, who is his caddy, really helped him calm down. And I was following it closely because he's a local guy, played at McNeese for a year and a half. He was the 2014-15 freshman of the year for the Southland Conference, all first team. And I got to talk to him for a little while at the Zurich a couple weeks ago, and it's really cool to see him actually break out and win it because you mentioned the Scottish Open. He's from Scotland, so that him losing, that's his Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
him losing that last year was really tough for him, and he did interviews talking about how badly he wanted to win it. His friends, his family, everyone he knew was there supporting him, cheering him on, and Rory ended up winning it, and he was forced to block all that out and turn it around quickly because the next week was the Open. So, which obviously another one for all the Europeans, that's the one that means the most aside from for McIntyre, the Scottish Open. But I thought we were going to have another McIntyre Rory finish like we did at the Scottish Open last year. That was a phenomenal finish, and for a little while there it looked like it was going to be the same. But McIlroy, he did an interview talking about how happy he was for McIntyre because got to know him through the Ryder Cup and they're all friends now. But he's a really well-liked guy, and I think you can see why in that interview after he won.
What do you guys think the 13th hole for the RBC Canadian is? It's not like the Waste Management, but I've noticed that hole. I know when I was out at Regions, the 10th hole is set up like that. I think the RBC Heritage has in South Carolina has a similar hole, and I've seen others.
You're not going to mention the live party hole?
No, well, I mean that's kind of what I'm going to is what was the tournament that it was BB Go every 5 seconds.
Oh, it was yeah.
So, and they had a par 3 set up like that as well. And so what you just mentioned is the live party holes. PGA seems to be allowing things like that to happen, at least for one par 3. Do you have an opinion on having a hole like that? You think that should be more just left to the Waste Management? It's never going to get into the majors. I understand that. You don't have to worry about that as far as it's, of course, never set up for the Masters. It's not going to be set up like that for the Open or US Open or PGA. But any thoughts as far as just having some of those holes set up where it's basically you're playing in a stadium almost?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The PGA has a age problem, right? Where the people that are controlling a large part of the tournaments, and kind of the tournament environments are older guys that want to see, the courses be played a certain way, the patrons to act a certain way. And that's great. And I definitely understand like the history and the kind of just want to make sure that the legacy of like tournaments are the same as they were when they were, first starting out, when Jack was playing, when um some of the other guys were playing um back in the day. But for the PGA Tour to be successful, they need to be able to have the ability to attract the younger audience. And not like my age, but like the 18 to 21, like the college age students, right? And even younger than that, the people in high school that will grow up liking golf, right? Especially after COVID. And so those types of party holes, are, I feel, kind of like a necessity if done correctly, right? I think the waste management takes it to another level that is not done correctly. Um, and while fun, right, like there's a lot of issues with it, to the point last year or this year, they had to shut off alcohol sales at the tournament because it got so bad. Um, but allowing fans to be fans, be in a stadium, heckle and cheer and all of these things is good for golf, in my opinion, and it's something that needs to continue to happen. But obviously, I don't think on like these, like Augusta, it's never going to happen. Like you said, the U.S. Open's never going to happen. The PGA, I could see it happening at the PGA, but that's just kind of my thought.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you're going off. I'm all for it. I mean, I was talking to my mom yesterday, and Mackenzie Hughes was walking up to the 13th, and they're singing the Canadian national anthem for him, and all the people wearing the quiet signs and all the volunteers around the 13th hole are wearing hockey ref jerseys. I think that's really cool, and it gives people who typically wouldn't care about golf, they would say, let's go have fun, let's go to the 13th hole and just have fun at the tournament. I think that's great for golf because it gives an incentive. It also gives tournaments an identity because waste management, you think of the 16th hole, you don't think of it. It's a phenomenal course, has phenomenal holes, but you think of the 16th because of the atmosphere. You think of Tiger Woods' hole in one. You think of all those moments that are because of that atmosphere from the 16th hole. When I think of the Canadian Open, I think of that. I think about how there's a hockey goal right behind the net. Or right behind the tee box. I think about how when for the broadcast they were wearing Oilers and Stars jerseys, which Sunday night was Game 6. Oilers punched their ticket to the Stanley Cup. And I think about that stuff that gives tournaments an identity. And when you think of the RBC, you think of the plaid jacket, the Masters, the green jacket, the Memorial has the same thing. All these tournaments have something that give it an identity. And I think for tournaments that don't have an identity, something like that would help, whether it be a quote unquote party hole, whatever it might be. I think something like that helps of people who either golf casual fans or people that aren't even golf fans. They say, that's pretty cool. I want to go see that. I want to experience that, whatever it might be. And we mentioned Live. I'm thinking about there in Houston this week. I'm thinking about going this weekend because it's only like an hour 45 from me. And I think it would be pretty neat to experience that one time and kind of see the difference, because I've been to a bunch of PGA tournaments, bunch of majors. I would love to go and just compare the differences and kind of see firsthand what it's like, but I haven't decided yet.
Look, and I even say for the waste management, I think it was 2 years ago, player's name is escaping me, but he hit a hole in one on Sunday. So then you had all the beers coming on the course and on the hole. Like I was fine with that. I thought that was exciting. I think that was kind of cool to show those types of passion. But then what started happening after that is when players would just make a birdie they started showering the green with beer and stuff like that. That wasn't needed in my
There's a fine line between having fun
yeah.
and controlled chaos.
Yes.
And I think like the Canadian Open did it perfectly. Mackenzie Hughes, he was all but crying on the 13th tee box when they were singing the Canadian anthem. So if it's controlled and it's not impacting the players, like you saw McIntyre screaming at the broadcast about the drone that was right over him during a shot that was distracting him. So if they can manage it where it's not a distraction for the players or it's not disrupting the players' routine or whatever it might be, I'm all for it. Have as much fun as you want, but in the wasted management case, I mean, you had Zach Johnson saying he would never come back and all this stuff, which Zach Johnson's another story this year, but it's things like that. If you're playing in the tournament, you shouldn't have to deal with all these extracurriculars of you're getting distracted when this is your livelihood. You're playing for millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It shouldn't be distracting, but at the same time, give an incentive for fans to be people to become fans if they're not already.
Exactly. I feel like I'm the boomer in this one. um, no, I agree. I am a fan of the management golf tournament. I really am. Like Sam's like I really want to go to that because she's like, oh, it's fun and so party. But I think that like you said, there's a difference in controlled chaos and then just chaos in and of itself. And I think the waste management um comes Sundays is just pure chaos. And it's not something that um I think like the people have talked about it, like live players have talked about it, and they're like, well, this is what the waste management is doing the exact same thing Live's doing. And so like I don't want that comparison to continue. Like I know that they're not, but I don't want. I just
Well, Live takes it to a whole nother level. They have a live DJ playing while they're teeing off, and fans are allowed to make as much noise. But I think that's too much. But I think it also gives them a sense of that's what the Ryder Cup is. I mean, you saw it when it was at Whistling Straits. I forget who it was. Was it Ricky? I forget who it was, but one of them was piping him up right before he was hitting and wanted them to continue because they have the people holding the quiet signs and everything like that. But he told him to put him down and told him to get up while he was hitting. That's kind of the experience of the Ryder Cup, and I, it's obviously not exactly that. You're playing for yourself, not for your country, but it's environments like that that are the clips that we see on Twitter and on Instagram when a hole in one happens, because if a hole in one happens when nobody's there, you're not going to see that clip because it's not memorable. But if like when Brooks Koepka's brother got a hole in one on Live, and while the DJ was playing and everyone was throwing their beers, or whenever anyone gets a hole in one at the 16th at TPC Scottsdale, those are the clips you see because those are the environments that build it up, and that's what how tournaments get a reputation and an identity. And I think that's so important because if you just have one tournament and the next and they don't have anything that makes it that tournament, like the Charles Schwab has the car that Davis Riley won, it has an identity because you get that car and it's like added to it. If you don't have any of that stuff, you don't have an incentive for these golfers to come. Like we were talking about before we recorded, Rory is now going to play 4 consecutive weeks because he played the Canadian Open. We have a signature event in the Memorial this week. We have the US Open next week. And then after that, we have another signature in the Travelers. But he goes because it has an identity. It's a meaningful tournament to him. They were talking about he's pretty much an honorary Canadian because they love him there. And if you don't have an identity, in addition to fans, golfers aren't going to want to come there. They're not going to want to make it 4 straight weeks or 5 straight weeks of playing because there's not really much to it. And it's just another tournament on the calendar.
That's where I struggle with live. And to be fair, I have not watched a whole lot of live golf, but the team format of what they're putting together, like yeah, it's new, but I'm not attached to any of those teams. And I'm not really attached to any of those players like a Bryson DeChambeau, who basically is the leader of his team. Now, if you told me it was something like, hey, SEC players, when you get done with college, and we understand you're trying to get on the Corn Ferry or the PGA, but we're going to travel around the SEC states and continue like an alumni match play tournament, like the SEC championship. So you play 2 or 3 days, you play 54 holes to get your standings, and then you go match play off of that. Like me, I would be interested in that, of course, going and watch former Alabama guys, having somebody to cheer on, having a team to cheer on for, similar to the Ryder Cup, but just teams that are made up and led by one particular person. And I kind of feel like I'll have the same feeling with the TGL, with Tiger and Rory having a team as well. Like, Matthew, I know Rory's your favorite player, so you will have more of allegiance to his team. I've like Tiger.
Yes and no, it's Boston, so
Yeah.
it's I have a problem there.
Well, but see, so there you go. Like, there are some issues from a golfing standpoint, I feel like, where it's just like putting guys together when it's typically been an individual sport anyway. If you can have a banner that they can rally around, that's more emotionally connected to somebody, like the United States of America, Team Europe, Team International, University of Alabama, well, even the state of Alabama. Maybe it's more of a state. I don't know. But those are things where I would feel more attached to watching that type of golf than just, hey, we're gonna have a team format and just put players together necessarily.
Well, here's the thing. With every sport, I mean, I'm wearing J&J Alabama stuff right now. With every sport, you can buy merch to support your team, support whoever it might be. Even in F1, you can do that because they have numbers, and they race for teams, so you can support them through merch sales. And when you're at the race or at a game or whatever, you can clearly, I'm a Alabama fan, I'm a Max Verstappen, I'm whatever. You can't do that with golf. You could with Tiger Woods because he had his brand and now he has Sunday Red, so you can do it with Tiger, but he's the only one, because I can't buy, like, if I go in the merch tent at the Memorial this week, there's not a Rory McIlroy section of this is clearly Rory merch or this is clearly Scotty Scheffler merch or whatever it might be. I guess you can with their colleges. Like, if I went this week, I could wear my Alabama stuff, and I'm clearly rooting for Justin Thomas, Lee Hodges, Davis Riley, Nick Dunlap, all of them. But that's not the same. So I think it's good in that element of like supporting your players and supporting whoever it might be. But I think that's part of what golf is missing, and I don't know that there's necessarily a solution to that. I just don't think there is, unless you go the full live route of I'm a Smash GC fan or I'm a High Flyers fan, whatever it might be. But I think that's part of what you're saying of supporting it, and like you were saying, the team aspect of it. But golf is interesting in that regard. Tennis is the same thing of there's no like clear distinction unless they have their own brand, like Tiger did or does, like Serena did, and like all of that. But I mean, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but it is an interesting component of golf of you can't like directly support a golfer with their merch or anything of that nature.
Um, all right, not to change the subject, but let's get to the Alabama players that are playing this week. I'm going to start with the longest day in golf, which is today, which we're recording, which is the U.S. Open qualifiers. So we have quite a few guys trying to qualify. So in the Bear Club in Jupiter, Florida, we have Jonathan Hardy and Thomas Ponder. We were going to get Thomas on the podcast, but obviously he's a little busy today, trying to qualify for the U.S. Open. In Cherry Hill, in Ontario, we have Bud Colley, Davis Riley, Trey Mullinax, and Robbie Shelton, friend of the program, Robbie Shelton. For Summit, New Jersey, Canoe Brook Country Club is Nick Gross. Duke University Golf Club is Frankie Capon, Davis Shore. And then in Springfield Country Club in Springfield, Ohio is Charlie Nikitas. And then as far as this week on the PGA Tour, we have, like Matthew mentioned, Nick Dunlap, Lee Hodges, Davis Riley, Justin Thomas. That's going to be the same for the Travelers Championship as well, since Davis did win. Unless we have another Alabama golfer, win the U.S. Open, and then they'll obviously join on the final. For the Corn Ferry Tour, we have the BMW Charity Pro-Am, which Davis Shore is playing. And then on the LPGA Tour, they have the ShopRite LPGA Classic, which is Kristen Gilman, Juan Jiang, Polly Mack, Stephanie Meadow, Benedita Moresco, Lauren Stevenson, Emma Talley. And then the Epson Tour is the Firekeepers Casino Hotel Championship, which is Luke Reber, Abe, Sarah Edwards, for that one as well. So a lot of golf going on today, a lot of golf going on this week for Alabama. But super excited to see kind of where the qualifiers, shape up. Obviously we're already going to have Justin Thomas in the US Open. We're going to have Nick Dunlap being the USAM in the US Open. I don't believe we'll have anyone else.
Is Lee not in it?
Lee might be in it. He's
Davis,
not.
I don't think qualified for it quite yet with his win because he hasn't done much outside of that. But I think Lee might be in it. He played in the Masters. He's been, well, I guess it's because he won last year, but Lee might be in it. I'm not 100% on that though.
What do you have to get to the world golf rankings? Is it top 70?
I believe so. But Lee got what, 12th at the PGA?
I can see.
And Lee, I believe Lee is like 72, 73 in the world golf rankings, and Davis is 78 coming off of his win. So both guys that could qualify that route as well with good
weeks. Lee got 12th at the PGA and was 12th at the Charles Schwab. I think he's in 24th at the Wells Fargo, 12th at the Arnold Palmer. He's had enough good finishes plus a win last year. I think Lee might be in it. I could be wrong on that.
He's 75th right now.
So he's right there. So he probably needs a good week this week, or he might be in it. I'm not 100%, but I think I have a feeling he might be in it.
Well, Christian, you just said Davis was playing in Ontario for a qualifier, and then of course he's playing the Memorial this week. I don't think you read Lee's name off of that list of qualifying, so maybe it is that he's already in. And again, a good week that hopefully pushes him in the top 70 would just secure it or double secure it, I guess, as far as being in the US Open.
Well,
and hurt for next year, I guess.
And I mean, another thing with Lee is if he has probably another top 15 finish in the signature event, he's probably going to qualify.
And helping his FedEx Cup status too, with all his he has, I think, 3 12ths already this year, a couple top 25. So he's actually not doing bad in that regard, even though he hasn't had a win yet.
Yeah, and I think he's already he's 64th right now in the FedEx Cup. So probably needs a few more good finishes just to secure his spot in the top 70 for the playoffs. But he's doing the thing that he needs to do. We'll need a good week from Nick Dunlap because he's again outside looking in on well, obviously he'll be in the US Open because he's a US amateur, but for the Open Championship, he's on the outside looking in for that. And needs a couple more good results to get to the tour playoffs because unfortunately his win didn't give him any FedEx Cup points, which I think is just like I feel if you turn pro after you win an event like that, then you should get the FedEx Cup points. Like
I think yes and no. I think if you get the money for it, you get the FedEx Cup points. If you don't get the money for it, because he won as an amateur. It sucks, but he won as an amateur. It just it would be nice to like retroactively give him the money since he turned pro 4 days later. But yeah, it would be nice if it helped him in that regard, but he's gonna have to do quite a bit to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to the Memorial Tournament, and kind of talk about that. I know we're not running up against a time frame, but it could be getting close here. So, um, who do you guys like? What are you guys thinking? And this is the second to last signature event this season. The Travelers being the last. Which is kind of the whole schedule format's kind of interesting, where you have like a signature event, a major, and then another signature event. Like we kind of mentioned, Rory's doing 4 consecutive weeks of golf, um, and then all the other guys are doing 3 consecutive weeks of golf. It's just quite interesting how they kind of align that. What are your thoughts on this week, and maybe some names to watch as a
without
potential
give
surprise?
without giving too much away for the fantasy picks. I mean it's a signature event, so you have a strong field and you're gonna have a lot of names near the top, but it's also a tournament that the top names have won at. I mean, Victor Hovland is a reigning champ. Billy Horschel won a couple years ago. Patrick Cantlay won. John Rahm won. Patrick Cantlay won again. Bryson DeChambeau won. So all the big names have won there, which means it's going to be a great tournament, kind of like the Wells Fargo a couple weeks ago, where all the big names have won there. So it makes for an interesting tournament, which Rory ended up running away with it, but it was Rory and Xander Schauffele, and those are the best because the top. You get exactly what the signature events were supposed to be, which is all of the top names playing together, making for an interesting leaderboard. And I think we're gonna have the same thing. I'm not gonna give any names away other than the past champions because that's easy to look at. But you have all the top names right there, and you have a a guy who is now had his charges dropped, so he's no longer a felon and no longer inmate number whatever Nuclear Golf was saying. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting tournament. All the top names are playing, which always makes for a fun leaderboard and a fun tournament to watch come Sunday.
I'm just disappointed the Memorial didn't reach out to us to be up there covering it, because if Doug had, I believe Doug said this is basically the milkshake tournament with all the special milkshakes they have behind. TaylorMade just came out with their 2 putter covers with milkshakes. So while we would like to be the ones breaking the news, I'm looking forward to any good insight we get as far as milkshake flavors from some of the top professionals in the world.
We're
Maybe that's
also
a
open. We're also open to receiving those head covers for free from TaylorMade. I don't know if Christian you saw it, but they had
yeah.
milkshake head covers, and I think it was like a strawberry blade one and the chocolate mallet one, or vice versa. But like I said, we are open to receiving those for free and giving TaylorMade some free publicity.
We will
Yeah.
put it to good use for sure.
Well, I think I put that in the group chat from
You might
Instagram.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, you might have.
Well, and I'll say this, it's we need to reach out to Doug to try to get us, next year for getting us on site, and we'll do all the milkshake coverage. We don't even care about the golf coverage. We'll just
I'll text Doug. I'm not sure if he's there this week. I know he's going to the Travelers, but if he is, I'll have him send us a video, a milkshake review, and maybe when
Yes.
he's interviewing players post round, give us what everyone's favorite milkshake is. I think that would do numbers for the Mulligans and milkshake content.
I mean,
yeah,
with
absolutely.
him being a friend of the program, I think we can just slide him into as an honorary host as well for the
That's
weekend.
right. And we
Yeah.
know we know his favorite milkshake. He gave us a great answer, so
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, do we want to go to fantasy picks, or do we want to do
we'll do
trivia?
the new
Yeah.
Matthews minute
Good.
segment. So a couple weeks ago we did the how many tournaments has Tommy Fleetwood won. That did well on social media. So every week we're gonna start a little new segment. We're gonna call it Matthews minute. A little trivia every week or something of that nature. Comparative, who has more wins, top 10, stuff like that. This week we're gonna do where did each golfer go to college? So this week I believe Christian has the first pick for fantasy. So Christian, you will get the first question. You each get 3 strikes. If you get one wrong, it'll go to the next person. If you both get it wrong, it won't count as an X for you guys. 3 strikes each. Christian, we'll start with you. We're going to start off easy. We'll get a little harder. So, Christian, where did Tiger Woods go to college?
Didn't he go to Stanford?
He did. Charles, where did Phil Mickelson go to college?
Arizona State.
He did indeed. Christian, where did Scotty Scheffler go to college?
Texas.
He did. Where did Jordan Spieth go to college, Charles?
Texas.
Oh, don't.
There you go.
Jordan Spieth one's a layup because he made a putt against Alabama.
Scotty Scheffler is too.
But if you're an Alabama fan, Jordan Spieth made a putt against Alabama to win the national.
You know what?
Championship.
This is my minute.
And I'm already shaking over these 3-footers.
This is my he's getting nervous about this. So Christian, we're gonna start this. This should still be easy. Should still be a layup. Where did Sam Burns go to college?
I honestly don't know where he went.
LSU.
That's right.
That's
so
right. It's LSU. Yeah, it's
1X
LSU,
for Christian. So now it's Charles' turn.
Charles. Good morning to Nick Dunlap and good morning to Justin Thomas, but not Sam Burns.
That's right. That's right. I can't believe I forgot about that. Ugh.
Where did this should be an easy one for you, Charles. Where did Sepp Straka go to college?
Georgia.
Christian, I'll give you a layup. Where did Robert McIntyre go to college?
McNeese.
There you go. That one because of me. Where did Victor Hovland go to college, Charles?
Oklahoma State.
That's right. Where did Ludwig Aubert go to college, Christian? This is last year. He got his PGA Tour card through PGA Tour U.
I don't know, like Georgia Tech or something. I don't know.
You got the Tech part right.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did Brian Harmon go to college, Charles?
Brian Harmon, he also went to Georgia.
Brian Harmon, he did indeed. This should be a layup, I hope.
It's probably not.
Where did Colin Morikawa go to college?
I don't know.
West Coast. They're now a member of the ACC.
Not UCLA. Cal?
He did indeed. Where did Max Homa go to college, Charles?
He also went to Cal.
He did indeed. I think we're noticing a trend here. Where did Bryson DeChambeau go to college?
SMU.
There we go. See, you got that one.
Well, I've watched Bryson's content on YouTube, so.
Charles, where did Dustin Johnson go to college?
I was hoping you were going to say Brooks Koepka because he went to Florida State. Dustin.
That was my next one. Now I can't ask that.
Hey, Florida State, bring it down back to Charles.
Dustin went to. He didn't go to SMU. I know that's been the trend that you've been.
It's one of the Carolina schools, not like UNC or South Carolina, but it's a school in North or South Carolina.
Did he go to Clemson?
He did not.
Wake Forest.
He did not. So, but not an X for either of you. He went to Coastal Carolina.
No, come on.
That was one I thought most knew. And Christian, you have 2.
Florida State.
Where did John Rahm go to college?
John Rahm went to college? Didn't even know that.
Forks up.
He went to Arizona State?
He did. You're welcome.
So real quick, we were talking about the 16th hole at the Waste Management, and that's one of the first memories I have of John Rahm is throwing on the Pat Tillman jersey to hit his tee shot on 16.
Yeah, that's right. Charles, where did Will Zalatoris go to college?
He went to Wake Forest.
He did indeed. So we're getting down the stretch here. Where did Wyndham Clark go to college, Christian?
I don't know. I have no idea.
They were Pac-12, now Big Ten.
Oh, all right. I had it.
Pac-12, now Big Ten. He didn't go to like UCLA, did he?
No, he did not.
We didn't.
Mm-mm.
Oregon?
Well, that eliminates it for Charles, so he can't get it. So on
I
to Charles.
I was gonna have
Charles.
UCLA, so I'll
Yeah, it
take
was
that.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Charles, where did Xander Schauffele go to college?
I wanted to say Cal, but it's not Cal. Did he go to UNLV?
He did not. Christian.
Uh, I don't know. Since you said West Coast, now you got me thinking. Like
Aztecs.
I was gonna say San Diego State.
There you go.
I literally was gonna say San Diego
So
State.
2-2. I'm helping you guys out a little too
I
much.
had the
That
right
stops
copy. I'm
here.
getting a quarter of a point on that one.
That stops here. So 2-2. So looking, where did Patrick Cantley go to college, Christian? It has been said in the last 2 minutes.
UNLV.
Nope.
UCLA.
Bing. So Charles is the winner. That went on a little too long, but yeah, little college trivia. I didn't want to give the Alabama layups because if you didn't know, that would just destroy the brand of this podcast. So I didn't throw that out there. I think we would have gotten all those right though.
Pat myself on the back a little bit. I knew a little bit more college golf than I thought I did.
There you go.
I'm just gonna say before you said go Aztecs, I was gonna say San Diego State. So
Yeah, my friend played at San Diego State, so I knew that one just because when he played in the Junior Presidents Cup in Australia a couple years ago, and they got a picture together. So that's the only reason I knew that one. But he also talked about it a couple times. He's from San Diego. He talked about it when he won the PGA. So I thought that might have been a little bit of a layup, but I guess not.
yeah, no, I just don't know that where people play college golf because I only really keep up with the SEC if I'm going to be
Charles
completely
is
honest.
our resident college golf reporter, so it's okay.
Even though the Sam Burns one, that's on me. I should have realized that was I don't know what I was thinking. But let's get into the fantasy picks. You said I have the first pick, so does it Charles number 2?
Correct. And so this is a signature event. We also talked there are 4 Alabama golfers in the field this week. So the standings this week are a lot closer because Charles closed in on us. He got 40 points this week. Christian did not get any, and I got 15. So because of that, the standings are pretty tight. I am back where I belong, right at the top of the leaderboard. I am in first at, I want to say 275. Let me make sure that is correct. So I am in first at 275. Christian is right behind me at 265. And then Charles is closing out at 250, trying to get out of the pimento cheese stage. Last week, no Alabama players made the cut, so we didn't get any help from that. I missed Tommy Fleetwood by 1 stroke. He was 21st. Sam Burns and Keith Mitchell got top 10 for me. Alex Noren and Sahith Theegala got cut, so I got -5 from that for 15. Christian, unfortunately, had 2 players get cut, 3 players get cut, 2 of which counted, so that canceled out his Mackenzie Hughes 7th place. And then Charles only had 1 player get cut, but he didn't count for negative. That was Wilson Furr. He had Rory McIlroy and Tom Kim, who were tied for 4th, and then Corey Connors, who finished in 6th. So he finished the week with 40 points. Big week for him. And I also wanted to suggest this going forward. I was the only one without a Canadian. Wrong on my part. What if I mean, it doesn't matter for the US Open, we'll all have an American, but for the Scottish Open and country opens, well, we're all required to take at least 1 golfer from that country. It doesn't have to be like a select round like the Bama round, but at some point you need to take a, like this week we would have all had to take a Canadian golfer. And
I
what
took
if
2. I'm just saying.
Yeah, what if for that country it's 5 extra points?
That's
Are we
fine.
opposed to that?
I'm
Okay.
not. We're doing our part to expand the game.
Exactly. So I think that would be a fun element. So we'll do that going forward.
Wait, so does
Obviously
that mean we get extra points for the memorial if an American wins?
No, only for like the Scottish. I don't think we should for the U.S. Open because everyone is like most of the golfers we're going to take are American. So I think that would just water it down and make
We
us
already got
not
bonus
take
points for it being a
make
major anyway.
and it gives us incentive to not take any Europeans or anything of that nature. So we shouldn't for that. But I think for like the Scottish Open or the Canadian Open, when they're probably less, it gives you incentive to take those Canadians or Scots, whatever it might be. Same with the British Open, but I don't know if they're same with the British Open. But anyway, so this week. It is Christian, Charles, and myself. We have 4 Alabama golfers in the field this week. So we determined we all have to take one like we usually do. The 4th, should anyone take him, you would get the double incentive for an Alabama golfer. But if he gets cut, you would also get penalized for him. You wouldn't for the Alabama round. But if you take I'm just throwing out a name. If Nick Dunlap is the overlapping golfer and I took him in the 6th round, I would still be subject to getting the -5 points. But if he gets top 10, top 20, whatever it might be, it is double for him. So you are not required to use him like you are for the 1st round golfers, but he would be subject to the penalty points unlike the 1st round. So 4 Alabama golfers and a pretty strong field. It's a signature event, so the +5 points come into play. There is a cut this week, even though it's a signature, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure because then everything I just said would have not mattered.
Yeah. All right. My first pick, I'm going Justin Thomas. Pretty
Shocker.
straightforward. It's actually I was debating between Justin and Lee. Truthfully, Lee's done good enough the past few weeks to actually make that an actual consideration. But ultimately, I think you have to go with Justin Thomas.
I am going to go Lee Hodges. I've talked about when Lee's on my team, good things happen. So we'll keep that trend this week.
There you go. So I have the choice between Nick and Davis Riley. I got to go with the hot hand. I'll go with Davis here. Hope Nick can prove me wrong, but I will go with Davis Riley because he's coming off a win in his most recent start, and hopefully he can keep that up. The choice is obvious. He's no longer a felon, so I will go with Scotty Scheffler.
And I'll go with Rory. He's been playing well, so we'll continue with Rory.
I'm gonna go Xander with my pick. I think coming off the PGA Championship win, and he played well in his last signature. I think Xander's the easy pick, and then I'm gonna go Victor Hovland, the reigning champion, for the Memorial. So I feel pretty confident with those two.
There was a little bit of a wrench in my plans. I'm going to go ahead and go with. Yeah, I'm going to go with Will Zalatoris. I liked the Victor Hovland pick with him, how he played in the PGA, and being a previous winner, hopefully Will can get it going the right way. And he was mentioned as a golfer in Matthew's Minute that I got correctly too, a Wake Forest guy, which I've got some ties to as well. So hopefully that's just why it was meant to be this week.
It's got to be a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one mentioned in Matthew's Minute, Colin Morikawa. I'll go with him. I like the way he's been playing recently and think he can keep it up. Patrick Cantlay will be my first pick of the 4th round. Previous champion. I think he's won there twice, I mentioned. So likes it. Hate the style of golf he plays, but we're not drafting styles. We're drafting finishes. So Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay.
I like Matt Fitzpatrick. I just think he's going to have a good week. So I'm going to add him in my 4th slot to the team.
So I'm going to go 2 interesting ones. They're not super interesting. Max Homa is going to be one of my picks. And then I want to go Siwoo Kim with my next pick.
And I'm going to go a little bit maybe out of the box. Just a guy that I don't think has been on anybody's team this year. I'm going Hideki Matsuyama.
He's been on my team before.
Yeah,
okay.
We've had him. He's been playing pretty well. I think that's it.
He before I even started looking at players this week, he was speaking to me. So hopefully he can have a good finish.
I have a couple options here. Do I go with a guy to get his first PGA Tour win 2 weeks ago's subject of Matthew's Minute and Tommy Fleetwood? Do I go I think I'm going to use one of my picks on him, Tommy Fleetwood. And then another guy who just plays such boring golf. I don't want to take him, Wyndham Clark. I'll go Tom Kim. I like the way Tom Kim's been playing. He's been trending up, and they had him on the broadcast on Sunday yesterday, and he said he's been playing a lot of golf, which in his mind he thinks is going to help him. He was talking about what we were talking about, 4 consecutive weeks, 5 consecutive weeks, whatever it might be. And he actually thinks it's helping him, the rust versus rest debate, and he thinks it's been helping. So played well this week at Hamilton Golf Club. So I'll go with Tom Kim.
Yeah, it's a good field when I'm sitting here with my last pick and there's 4 or 5 guys that I actually want. Not necessarily scraping the bottom of the barrel or trying to go with a out of the box pick necessarily. But I'm welcoming him back to the team for maybe the 4th or 5th time this year. I'm going Sepp Straka to continue his good form. And
You love some Georgia golf, Sepp Straka.
Sepp is a resident of Birmingham, Alabama. I will have you know, a member of the church that I attend as well. So
Another member of Matthew's Minute.
Yeah. So Sepp's been playing well, and hopefully he'll continue this week at the Memorial.
With my last pick, I'm instituting the Alabama rule, and I'm taking Nick Dunlap, friend of the program.
There you go. Love it. I was hoping one of you was going to take him, but I was also hoping not, because I think he's going to have a decent week, and that'll give you double points and catch up to me.
Been what, 2-3 weeks since the last time Nick teed it up?
Yeah,
he played at the Charles Schwab, right?
No, he didn't. He was going to.
PGA.
They were talking about him potentially going out there to play, and then they ultimately decided not to.
That's right.
But he hasn't played since the PGA, so
I think that the rest and maybe the college golf year ending as well too. You're not focused on your previous teammates. You're not feeling anxious or could I have let these guys down or anything like that. He can solely just focus on himself now and not have to worry about that since the season's over. I agree. I think Nick could be a guy that is on the leaderboard, at least making the cut this week, and that'll be great for him with the U.S. Open on deck too.
All right, so here are the teams. Starting off with Christian, he had the first overall pick, went with the easy choice in Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, Victor Hovland, Max Homa, Siwoo Kim, and Nick Dunlap, 2 Alabama golfers. Charles went with Lee Hodges, Rory McIlroy, Will Zalatoris, Matt Fitzpatrick, Hideki Matsuyama, and Sepp Straka. And I rounded it out with Davis Riley, the most recent Alabama winner, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantley, Tommy Fleetwood, and Tom Kim. I always give my pick for who I think is going to win the Twitter poll. I would say I probably have the most names. I don't think that necessarily means I'm going to win, but I have the most names. I have Scotty Scheffler. I just have the most names, I think. I would say Christian probably does right after that.
So Charles made a joke last week.
That I always pick myself. Yeah, I know, but I typically pick the names and the ones that are at the top of the odds. Like I have the odds right next to me, which I think is why. And honestly, well, last week I think we were the only ones who voted because we posted it like right before the first round. But typically it's just the most names that wins the poll, which is the only reason I say that.
Personally, I think you've got some chemistry issues at the top with how Davis Riley beat down Scotty Scheffler 2 weeks ago. I'll let you figure that out.
Hopefully they can figure it out. Davis Riley might throw in a joke about him getting arrested, and that might throw off Team Travis's chemistry.
Yeah.
Charles, do you want to give your picks since we're doing this now?
I really like. I mean, Matthew is right. He's definitely got the name. When you got Scotty Scheffler at the top, you're obviously going to have a great name leading your team. But Christian, I like your team this week. I think you got some. Can't give a deep analysis, I guess. But I guess I like your team this week.
You like his chemistry?
I like his chemistry.
See, I was really trying to go with, vibes as far as my team with Justin Thomas, Nick Dunlap, Max Homa, really get the vibes going. And so I think
Well,
that,
it's the
You
first time
you
Justin and Nick
Christian
have been paired
Christian wins the
together.
chemistry battle. He has two Alabama golfers.
yeah,
Well, it's the first time Justin and Nick have been paired together since the American Express. So obviously that should help Nick out too, because that's what led him to winning the American Express on that Sunday with them being in the final group.
Who has the
absolutely.
most from Matthews Minute? Let's see. I have 3 in Scheffler, Morikawa, and Cantley. Charles has Zalatoris and Straka, and Christian has Shoffley, Hovland, Homa. So Christian and I win the Matthews Minute, the most mentions.
Well, and you mentioned that you couldn't mention the Alabama golfers. So if you think about it,
Kai goes to Alabama.
Yeah.
Pat yourself in the back, Christian.
actually, I just went through like the betting odds and just picked people based off that. So
Hey, it's worked for me. I'm sitting at the top.
yeah. But I don't think we have anything else to talk about. I think we're good. Next week are we going to try to have a guest on next week for the US
We'll
Open?
try. We'll try. It depends how qualifiers go and everything of that nature. But yeah, we're gonna try and have a guest on next week. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Like Matthew mentioned, he's wearing J&J apparel. Be sure to shop J&J. And interact with us on Twitter. Join the polls. If you have any suggestions or content ideas that you want to see on the podcast, let us know.
They just told me they wanted to see me play Paynes Valley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure. But if I would say this, if an Alabama golfer last week I didn't get to do it, but Charles did it. If Alabama golfer wins, I think we should all have milkshakes. I'm probably not going to drink it, but I'll have one.
You can drink like a protein shake or something. I'll count it.
Yeah. But yeah, if we see that this week, but good luck to the 4 guys that we have, obviously all making the fantasy lineup this week. So hopefully, Team Christian, Team Alabama, you prefer my lineup over some of the other guys because they were disrespectful to my boy Nick Dunlap. So,
Oh please.
Anyway, this has been another episode of the Mulligans and Milkshakes podcast. We'll have this out, I guess, Tuesday. So, be sure to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and as always, roll tide.
As my shirt says, roll tide.
Well, Todd.